Welcome back to NewZeroland. I'm stuck behind a Prius. Alright, I'm feeling restless, so I had to get out and go for a ride. But now I'm even more restless because of this Prius. Anyway, here's what's going on, right? I want to go on another big road trip, but we still need to find Jen an electric bike that can travel. So we've been searching, but it hasn't been easy. Normally what we do is fly back to the US, ride a bunch of stuff, figure out what works, and then ship it over here. But obviously that's not something we can do right now. Not yet, at least. So the next best thing was to see what electric motorcycles are available here in New Zealand, and see if anything would be a good fit for what we need. And we could also show the locals here what's available and how they compare. That there are electric motorcycles that you can buy in New Zealand. The problem is, there aren't that many. If you guys saw that last video where we got to ride the Altas and Cakes, that was freaking awesome, right? That Alta Supermoto, oh my god. I think that was the best motorcycle I've ever ridden. Like, electric, gas, doesn't matter. That was the best. But Alta went out of business like 2 years ago, right? And the Cake was cool, but if we wanted a Cake, we'd have to import it, and they're just way too expensive.
Standard, about 23,000 cost landing.
That's crazy. That and they get like 50 k's of range. So what's left? What can we buy here? We wanted to go test ride a Super Soco TC Max because I really feel like that's the best bang for buck electric commuter you can get. Like, it's tiny, it's short so that Jen can flat foot it because she's like 5'5", and that's kind of a problem for most bikes. It does highway speeds and it's 8,000 bucks New Zealand, brand new. So yeah, we wanted to go test ride one, but the only shop in our area that sells them is Motorrad. But they only had one and somebody bought it the night before. So we didn't get to ride it, and I have no idea when they're gonna have another one. Then there's Upco, which is made in New Zealand, and I'm super excited to ride one of those because it's two-wheel drive. So that's gotta be a cool experience. They're up in Tauranga, so it's like, we wanna go, but it's a matter of freeing up another weekend to make the trip. And then, you know, making sure that the weather's nice, and yeah, it's just difficult. We'll get up there eventually, but I mean, the big problem is that so far none of these bikes can do long distance road trips, and that's what Jen needs. Oh my god, finally. So the only one left is the Harley Livewire, which they sell in New Zealand, but it costs 54 grand here, which is a whole nother topic on its own, and something, it just drives me crazy, right? Okay, so the Livewire is $30,000 in the US, right? So let's say you make 50 grand a year in the US. 30 grand is a lot of money, but it's in the realm of Harley money. And if you're into it, if you're a fan of the brands, or if you just want some of the best build quality of any bike, I think it's a solid choice, and I really want to ride one. But over here, let's say you make 50 grand in New Zealand dollars, suddenly the same bike is 54 grand, which makes it really, really difficult. Like, it's so hard to go electric because this stuff is so expensive here. Anyway, that's my little side rant. So the way I see it, we have two options to be able to go on road trips together on two electric bikes. We could get Jen an Energica, like an EVA or an SS9 or something with a shorter seat. Then we'd have two DC fast charging bikes. Problem solved, right? But the dilemma in New Zealand is, even though DC stations are all over the place, each location only has one place to plug in. Like one stall. So if we get there and there's some miracle that a Leaf isn't already charging, it still means we'd have to charge one after the other. And if the bikes are totally dead, that's half an hour for hers and half an hour for mine. So we'd be at this charging station for an hour. And half an hour in, we'd have to unplug her bike and plug mine in, and it's kind of a pain. And I've been in this situation before. When I picked up my Ego, I did a little road trip with Jeff and his EVA, and it was that situation where I unplugged his, plugged in mine, and there was a line of Leafs waiting for us to finish. So that sucked. And then there's the cost, because DC stations are crazy expensive. So we'd be paying $10 each at every stop, and we'd be there for an hour. I know you guys with the Energicas with the bigger batteries are already charging for an hour, so imagine being there for 2 hours. Like, if we had two of the newer bikes, we'd be at the same charging station for 2 hours. I think if a Leaf showed up, we'd just have to tell them to find another way home. So the other option is the NewZero, like the SRF or the SRS. They have pretty good range. They're about the same price as Energicas. The charging is not as good, but I've been thinking about this a lot, so hear me out. The best of the best Zero with the 12 kilowatt add-on rapid charging thing takes 1 hour, right? So over here the infrastructure is mostly DC, but AC is growing, and in New Zealand AC charging is like Europe, so we have these 22 kilowatt stations scattered around, and each one has 2 charging ports that you can use at the same time. So if we both had matching Zeros, we could charge at the same time, be in and out in 1 hour, and those stations are free. So this is what got me thinking. If it's gonna take an hour no matter what, AC or DC, we could leave both bikes plugged in, go for lunch, and not have to worry about swapping cables and stuff, and we wouldn't have to pay 20 bucks each time. We could have road trip capable electric motorcycles, and the road trips would be free. Also, the new Zeros have really short seats. Jen has no problem on them. But then the downside of AC charging is that we'd have to bring our own cables, which the cables are super heavy, and like we'd have to find a way to carry them with us, and the cables are also pretty expensive, like a couple $100 each. So maybe that would cancel out our cost savings charging for free, I don't know. And then also, to make things more complicated, we'd have to get the bikes from the UK or Europe because they have different charging ports here. So that'd make the cost of the bikes more expensive because Zeros are more expensive in Europe. So this is where I'm at. This is the dilemma I'm in. We need 2 fast charging long range bikes, but I have no idea which way to go. Like, I love the build quality of Energicas and I love the company, but charging one after the other just doesn't sound like something that we want to do. So is it time to like sell both our bikes and get 2 Zeros? I don't know. Should NewZeroland get more Zeros? What do you guys think? Help me. Maybe I should just put a sidecar on the Ego and get Jen some goggles and a scarf. Anyway, leave me a comment, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.